Tonight you'll step into hot water and rinse the day off. You won't think about it. You'll reach for a bottle, and the dirt and the sweat and the smell of being alive for 16 hours will just go. For almost all of human history, that bottle didn't exist. No soap, no shampoo, no shower. And here's the strange part. For about 200 years, the richest people in Europe were convinced that washing your body would kill you. We'll get to them. But first, one uncomfortable truth. Clean isn't a fact. It's an idea. And every civilization on Earth had to invent its own version of it from nothing. So how did billions of people across thousands of years get clean with no soap at all? Start with the ones who were best at it. Walk into a Greek gymnasium 2,400 years ago, and the athletes aren't scrubbing. They're pouring oil on themselves. Olive oil worked over the whole body until the skin shines. Then they train, they wrestle, they sprint, they roll in dust and sand until they're filthy. Then comes the tool. It's called a strigil, a curved blade of bronze shaped a bit like a question mark, with a hollow running down its length. You drag it across your skin, and it lifts everything off at once. The oil, the sweat, the grime, the dead skin, in a single greasy ribbon. That was clean. You didn't wash the dirt away. You trapped it in oil and peeled it off. And here's the detail you won't be able to unlearn. The gunk scraped off famous athletes got collected, bottled, and sold. The Greeks called it gloios. People paid good money for it as medicine rubbed into sore joints. Champions sweat and skin, in a jar, on a shelf. Sounds insane? To them, your shampoo would sound insane. If any of this made you go, wait, what? That's the whole reason this channel exists. Hit like, hit subscribe, and the next strange truth comes straight to you. The Romans took that same strigil and built an empire around it. They didn't bathe alone. They bathed by the hundreds in enormous public complexes called thermae. The Baths of Caracalla could hold something like 1,600 people at once. Entry cost less than a loaf of bread, because a Roman who couldn't get to the baths was a Roman who might start trouble, and every emperor knew it. And it wasn't a quick dip. It was a route. A warm room to open the skin, then the caldarium. Hot, full of steam, where you'd oil up and a friend or a slave would scrape you down. Then the cold plunge, to slam the whole body shut again. No soap anywhere in that. Just heat, oil, metal, and cold water. This was where Rome actually happened. The deals, the gossip, the arguments. The bath wasn't hygiene. It was the whole social world with the clothes off. But soap did exist. It just wasn't meant for you. Clay tablets from Babylon, around 2800 BCE, describe boiling fats with ashes to make something that cleans. The Egyptian Ebers, papyrus, written near 1550 BCE, records mixing oils with alkaline salts to treat and wash the skin. So the recipe is 4,000 years old. Fat plus ash makes soap. Then why not use it every day? Because they didn't have to. The ancient world was swimming in cleaners that cost nothing. Wood ash soaked in water gives you lye, harsh enough to cut grease off anything. The Egyptians used natron, a salt scraped from dried lake beds, the same mineral they packed into their dead. Across North Africa, people scrubbed with fine clay. And then there's the one that makes modern people flinch. Urine. Left to age, it breaks down into ammonia, which happens to be one of the best cleaning agents nature makes. Romans kept collection pots on street corners. They cleaned wool with it. Some whitened their teeth with it. When the Emperor Vespasian slapped a tax on the urine trade, and his son said it was beneath them, Vespasian held up a coin and gave us a line that outlived him by 2,000 years. Money doesn't stink. So the ancient world cared deeply about being clean. And then it forgot how. When Rome fell, the great baths cracked and went quiet, but bathing didn't disappear. Medieval towns were full of public bathhouses called stews, where people soaked and drank and washed together. The peasant nobody remembers washed his hands and his face. He cared too. The real collapse came later, and it came out of fear. In 1347, the Black Death arrived, and kept coming back, wave after wave, for centuries. Physicians who couldn't stop it reached for an explanation, and the one they landed on was this: hot water opens the pores, and open pores let the sickness pour straight in. So the safe thing, the sensible, modern scientific thing, was to stop bathing. And the wealthiest people in Europe did exactly that. For roughly 200 years, from the 1500s on, the elite of France and England barely touched water. Louis XIV is said to have taken only a handful of full baths in his whole life. Versailles, the most envied palace on the continent, had almost no bathrooms in it. So how do you stay clean without washing? You cheat. The idea was that a fresh white linen shirt soaked the filth out of you, so you changed your shirt, sometimes several times a day, and buried whatever was left under perfume. Clean meant a white collar and a floral smell. That was the entire system, and the most powerful men alive believed in it completely. Now I have to be straight with you, because this isn't a tidy story about ancient genius. The ancients weren't actually that clean. Roman bath water got changed rarely, and thousands of oil bodies moved through the same pools. When researchers test the soil of Roman sites, they find an empire full of parasites, worms thriving in the same cities that built the aqueducts. Share warm water with 1,600 strangers and there's a bill. So they weren't cleaner than us. Not really. But cleanliness was never really about the dirt. And I think that's the thing every one of these people understood. From the Greek scraping oil off his arm to the king in his perfumed shirt. It was about belonging, about showing the group you were healthy and in order and safe to stand next to. The strigil, the bathhouse, the white linen collar. Same message, different centuries. I take care of myself. I'm one of you. Soap only became the thing ordinary people scrubbed with every single day in the last 200 years, once factories made it cheap and advertisers worked out how to make us feel dirty in the first place. Before that, clean was whatever your world had decided it was, which brings us back to tonight. You'll step into the water and reach for the bottle. And it'll feel like the only way a person could possibly get clean. But a Roman would hand you a strigil, a king would hand you a shirt, an Egyptian would just point at the river. The water hasn't changed in 300,000 years, neither has your skin. The only thing that keeps changing is the story we tell ourselves about what it takes to be clean. And somewhere down the line, someone is going to look at that plastic bottle of yours exactly the way you just looked at a jar of scraped off sweat.